All right, welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. Got ourselves another Portulacaria afra or port. Dwarf jade or port is definitely a lot easier to say than Portulacaria afra. But before we get into this, I did want to give a quick update on this root over rock ficus. I think it's looking pretty good. I won't be doing any work to it until at least February, so thought I'd just throw in a quick update. One of my projects that has taken many weird turns on me and everything, but I think it's working out really well. And again, won't be doing any major work to it, so won't have a reason to do any other updates. Thought I'd just throw this guy in there real quick. All right, and thought I'd just throw that little update in there for you. This is I mean, it's kind of working out where it looks like it's kind of turning into a bit of a cascade here on me. Haven't really had any solid plans for it. Just kind of other than letting it grow and seeing what happens as it gets older. Sometimes it's just, if I don't really have any plans, I just kind of let it go, prune it every now and again, whatever. But I did find, actually I found a little handful of pictures. You'll see the original pictures here were from October 2019, and I found a couple from February 2020. I haven't really done anything with it since. But I had it sitting outside, and I noticed, I guess it was about 3-4 weeks ago, that it was looking a little waterlogged, and all of his brothers and sisters out there were just, they really do, as much as you can leave them dry, they really do like rainwater. I think all plants love the rainwater. But I noticed it was looking kind of unhappy, like maybe it wasn't draining all that great. I do have it in just potting soil, and so I was thinking, well, maybe it's not draining all that great, so I went ahead and put it where it would be protected from the rain for a little while. And it sat there for another week or two. And then I thought, well, let me look and kind of see what it is that's making this guy unhappy. And I was just taking a close look at it really more than anything. And I noticed that it was covered in ants. And usually ants mean that you've got aphids or you've got scale. And aphids and scale, at least outside for me here in Florida, don't really hit these ports too much. They do get mealybugs, but as far as I know, the ants don't really feed off the mealybugs all that much. What happens with aphids and scale is the ants aren't really damaging the tree itself, but they're actually farming the aphids and scale, and they're helping the aphids and scale along because they like the secretions that the aphids and scale will leave behind. But anyway, there was no aphids, no scale, and I didn't see any mealybugs. And so the next thing I usually do when I see ants and I don't really see the purpose for the ants or what it is that they're doing to the tree, I usually flood them, meaning like I'll water it normally and then like water it again, just like, almost to where you just kind of keep pouring it on there till it can't even drain that quick. And the ants will just kind of flood all out. And then you just especially with the succulent, you let it just dry for a long time. Well, I went to go do that and the pot didn't drain at all. I think what was happening is out in the rain, it was appearing as if it was draining just simply because I don't really go out there in the rain to look, and by the time it stopped raining, then I'd look and the water would be gone. But like I said, it was appearing waterlogged. And this, I don't remember, I must have bought, some kind of a house plant or something in this. I don't really know what was in it, but it had a solid bottom. And what I did, I can't really show you now without spilling this thing everywhere, but what I did is I took a drill and I just drilled a few holes down there. And I think with the combination of having organic soil and those holes being too small, it just got all plugged up. Because actually, when I noticed it wasn't draining, I actually picked it up and kind of pulled out, and there was like slime in those holes, and I kind of pulled it out and then able to drain it a little bit. The ants were still kind of just everywhere. I did put a little bit of Amdro in there. Amdro is just like what we pour on our fire ant piles down here to kill ants. And it seems as if the ants have left. But what I'm guessing is they might have been feeding on a little bit of root rot in there or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, before I go repotting it, I'm going to go ahead and just reduce the foliage a bit. I don't really think that's 100% necessary here on a succulent, but I'm just going to do it anyway. Make it a little bit easier for me to handle as I move it around too. And again, it's got a pretty thick trunk, and it's got a somewhat interesting shape down there. But again, other than once I noticed that it kind of had this piece falling off to the side, and I thought, well, maybe I'll let it become a cascade. I haven't really given all that much thought to the shape or anything. So right now, just basically cutting it back. And once I get it in the new pot, I may find that I need to trim it a little more, sometimes just to balance it in the pot better, however it looks in the new pot. Another reason I chose just to put it in terracotta is if it does have any root rot problems, I can go ahead, our rainy season is pretty much all over, but I can go ahead and once I notice it recovering, I can put it all the way outside, let it get all that sun, and if it ever gets rained on or anything, that terracotta will help kind of wick the water out and whatnot. I mean, I think that we're heading into winter, which is our dry season here. Alright, so kind of interested to see what we got in here. Hoping I don't pull it out and find that there's still thousands of live ants in there or anything. That might cause me to abort the session here, but and now all there is left to do is just kind of get it out of here and see what we got. Left it alone for a bit. Yeah, it was pot bound in there. Doesn't really look like it should have been all that unhealthy. And you can see there, I just drilled those 2 holes. Probably take my drill and try to widen both of those out and then put another one there and another one there. So what I'm doing here, I've got just a little bit of substrate in the bottom of the pot. And I had some of that ant killer on top here. And I'm just going to kind of put that in the bottom. And if there's any ants left or anything, should be okay. And if they try to invade from the bottom or anything like that, and you can even see here, the roots, that's what I was pulling out of those drain holes. The roots were just going in the only 2 that there were. Trying to get a good bit of this organic stuff off here. I was expecting to find something a little more unhealthy than this. But there's that. I had a drainage screen in there. I don't know why I did. Those holes weren't really big enough for any substrate to go through. I don't know why I did that. I even have some big lava rocks. At one point I bought a big bag of lava rocks because I saw some video where some guy was taking the lava rocks and beating them into little pieces. I don't know. I think I talked about that in one of my other videos. I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking I was going to do that. I don't mind a little bit of hard work here and there, but that was a little much for me. Alright, so I'm going to trim these roots back a bit. I've seen ports are one of these kind of a plant that if you watch enough videos on this, you can see so much conflicting information on their care and stuff. But I've seen a lot of people say, oh, you can take and comb their roots out anytime, they bounce right back. And I've seen a lot of people say they really hate having their roots pruned. The ones that I've seen say that they hate to have their roots pruned a lot and stuff are the ones that have the most impressive trees. So I'm going to kind of lean towards believing them. And I have noticed that any time I do a really rough repot, they'll come back, but it takes a little while. They don't bounce back right back like ficus do. But so I didn't want to prune super aggressively on the roots. I do want to get out as much of this organic soil as I could. Really no evidence of rot at all. Still kind of have no idea what all those ants were doing. The ant killer stuff really did work because I don't see anything alive in this. Usually almost any repot that I do, there's always a couple ants running around or something, but I don't see anything alive in here, so that stuff works. And again, one of the bits of information I've seen from the people with the very nice trees and everything is they say to just leave them pot bound for a very long time. And that's about the only way to really develop a good Nabaria, especially if they weren't like developed that way to begin with. This thing really doesn't have much of anything that's going to turn into a Nabariana just yet. Roots are healthy. I thought I'd find a bunch of black stuff in there, maybe a few lingering ants. Looks pretty good. I definitely don't think it was a good idea to leave it in that blue plot much longer with the drainage issue there, with the roots growing through the 2 drainage holes. There's only 2 drainage holes. They were growing through both of them. And I will take off just a little more of this when I put it here in the terracotta pot. The terracotta pot's a little bit wider than this pot was on top. A little bit shorter though. I don't want to. You don't want to fold any roots when you put them in. You want to make sure that they can kind of fold out a little bit or go out some, and that should be good. And it was at that angle there. Not quite like that, it was about like that. I may have it a little more like that. And if it turns out it doesn't want to cascade, I've always thought about, this is the piece that would, sorry I was out of the view there for a second. This is the piece that would cascade. It's actually a little bit of a thicker trunk than this part. But I thought that maybe I could have just go ahead and do this and make it almost like it was a sacrifice branch, and then I just have a little movement out of the stump and have the tree up here. I may still do that one day, who knows. I'll see how it gains its strength out of there. Sometimes just specifically for these for the ports, I wish they made rectangular terracotta training pots. Terracotta, just like I said, it really does help wick any extra moisture out. And when you get the extra rainy season in, of course, with the inorganic soil, it really isn't a problem. But right, just about there. All right, and then let me do my little Florida man thing here. I got this little rock. I didn't want to rest it right on the terracotta there. But I also, the way it was just kind of not really all that steady in there. So now that should hold a little bit better. All right, and there we go. And again, it's really nothing all that special just yet. It really needs time to get a bigger trunk. And to let me decide whether or not I'm going to try to train it as a cascade or cut that off and then just, again, use that as a sacrifice to make this bigger. But now that I repotted it, I'll keep this someplace protected from the rain for a few days, or actually probably a week or two until I start seeing it grow again. It should be nice and easy this time of year. In the fall and the winter, I have the way the angles of the sun kind of goes here. I have some really great places I can keep it out of the rain, but let it get plenty of sun. So I'll have it there. It'll do fine, I'm sure. Especially, I'm very happy that I didn't get in there and find a bunch of rot. Looked a lot better than I thought it would be, but it's a good thing I did it because it wasn't draining right. But as soon as I see the new growth, I'll get it back outside. And of course, we don't really get rain until next year anyway, but it'll get the dew out there. Every now and again we get a few showers in November and December, so